Welcome back. You're watching Live from Paris on France 24. It's time for Campaign Chronicles, our daily countdown to the presidential election. As always, I'm joined by our French politics editor, Mark Perelman. And tonight, Nicholas Rushworth is our media editor. He'll be telling us about the reaction in the press and on the blogs as well. Good evening to you both. Now, the manifestos are out. It seems a little late in the day, just less than 3 weeks to go before the election. Nevertheless, though, Sarkozy has outlined his pledge for how he's going to fix the economy if he's re-elected.
Yes, and how he's going to lead France. It's very late in the game. Several reasons to that. One, Nicolas Sarkozy took the program made by his party, one of his ministers, and threw it away, essentially. And he has since improvised. He's been announcing things right and left, but less than 3 weeks before the election, if you're a candidate, you need a program, a platform. He did it in the form of a letter to the French people, 34 pages that will be sent as of today to millions of French, where he will lay out his vision. There's also a document that explains how he is going to balance the budget by 2016. The financing needs are huge. It's 123.5 billion euros. He said most of it is already funded, but he still needs to find 53 billion euros through spending cuts and tax increases. Let's not forget that Nicolas Sarkozy promised he would not increase taxes.
All right, cutting the deficit very much at the heart of his plan, isn't it? But he's also been on the attack today, hasn't he? Because just yesterday, his rival, the socialist leader François Hollande, unveiled his manifesto. Sarkozy's been doing his best to tear it to pieces today. Yes,
today he had a press conference, an hour and a half, and this was supposed to be only about his program, but it was very much an anti-Hollande happening today. He accused him essentially of putting France in the danger zone. He said if there's not a credible candidate, France could go the Greek or the Spanish way. And he made sure that this could be especially true if François Hollande listens to the rising star of the campaign, Jean-Luc Mélenchon. Let's see how Nicolas Sarkozy thinks François Hollande is a danger for France.
In today's fast-moving world, the lack of experience of leaders, the lack of credibility of leaders, François Hollande, who's taken hostage by Mr. Mélenchon, who every day applies even more pressure, if I believe what's said by you people and by analysts as a whole. It would take 2 days to undo 5 years of work. Decisions we make today, we're not an isolated country. Decisions we take have immediate effect.
Nicolas Sarkozy, among the numerous attacks against François Hollande, also made a point of attacking the socialist intentions to reestablish the legal age of retirement to 60. Let's not forget that one of the key reforms of Nicolas Sarkozy was bringing up to 62 years.
And it wasn't easy, was it?
It wasn't easy, but Nicolas Sarkozy is very proud of achieving it. But he says that this would be totally irresponsible to go back to 60.
We have been amongst the last to reform pensions. Now it's applied. Pensioners know that their pensions will be paid. Is now the time to say that a first act will be to put into place pension reforms? To bring the retirement age back to 60 for millions of French people? I want to say that this proposition denies that there is a crisis. It's a denial of the existence of a world outside France and a denial of reality.
All right, a busy day then for the French president, but his wife, the former First Lady, has been in the press as well today, hasn't she, Nicolas?
Well, we heard that word there, credibility, about Nicolas Sarkozy. He's headline news today, just as François Hollande was yesterday with his outline of proposals. So we've got this. But on the web, the buzz is all about an article in Le Nouvel Observateur, a weekly magazine, a well-established weekly magazine. And it's about Carla Bruni Sarkozy, who's given this interview. And the headline's not good, I don't think, in terms of imaging. Look at this. Carla Bruni Sarkozy, à côté de Madame Pompidou, je suis Lady Gaga. So, of course, that all makes us think of the bling bling label that haunted Sarkozy for a long time in his campaigning. And now we've got
some pretty wacky outfits, to say the least.
And sort of it's a bit of jewellery, a bit of sparkly stuff to go with it. So there we see the couple there on that website. And Carla Bruni, in part of the article, is saying, I'm the most apolitical animal ever. And that's been picked up by one website. And of course, she's saying in this piece, look, when I go out campaigning with Nicolas Sarkozy, there's no problem. They love him. They like him. You know, what's the issue? The issue is about the Paris elite, the gauche caviar, the caviar-eating left wing. And so she's sort of saying, well, it's really a quirky thing that's going on with these funny people in Paris. Now, of course, that's been picked up by the left-wing comedians in droves. We can see here a Twitter from Stéphane Guillon, who is very well known in France for various reasons, notably about Strauss-Kahn last year. But this time he's come out and said, look, the anti-Sarkoism is a phenomenon of the elite Parisienne. That's a declaration, a statement made by Carla Bruni in her private mansion in the Porte d'Auteuil, which is a residential suburb of Paris. So, of course, they're going at perhaps easy bait, as far as some people might say. Another tweet is from, there we can see a website about Carla Bruni there, envoûté par son gourou. Again, there you can see that quote there, the apolitical animal. And this one is another left-wing comedian. Oh, well, it's in one of the things that came up in that article was about Carla going out disguised because
yeah, she says she takes the metro in a wig, doesn't she?
Well, this is what's been said in that article. It's come up before, actually, but in this this comedian here is sort of Jean-Luc Lemoyne is saying, well, if she's taking the metro in disguise, well, in the future we might see her somebody quite thin, strumming a guitar with a false beard, and the message from him is give money to her because that's going to help with the French public deficit.
I'm pretty sure I was sitting next to her on the metro on the way in yesterday. Anyway, how is all of this impacting on the opinion polls, if at all, Mark?
Well, the opinion polls are showing that Nicolas Sarkozy is ahead of François Hollande in round one of the election. He's slightly improving. We see one of those figures, 2 percentage points more or less. And they're way ahead of the second tier of candidates with Marine Le Pen, the far-right leader, and Jean-Luc Mélenchon. However, in the second round, it's still a struggle for Nicolas Sarkozy. François Hollande is ahead, 53-47, and this is the smallest...
it's narrow, doesn't it?
It's narrow, but according to other polls, but that's the minimum we've had. 6 percentage points is still a lot for Nicolas Sarkozy to catch up. And one of the rising stars in the poll, we saw it briefly, has been Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the leader of the left front, which comprises the Communist Party. And tonight he had a huge rally in Toulouse where we're told over 50,000 people showed up despite some nasty weather down in Toulouse. Our Luke Brown was there.
You could say he is the phenomenon of the 2012 election. We're here in Toulouse for another of those mass outdoor rallies along with Jean-Luc Mélenchon. His campaign has caught many off guard. He's polling at around 15%. That puts him in about third place. Key to that success has been generating this kind of enthusiasm that his rivals have been unable to match. Let's take a listen to some of his supporters explaining the success of his popularity.
He doesn't try to dupe people. He's honest. I like the way he explains things at the rallies.
I used to be in the Socialist Party. I've seen how the Socialist Party works. And he's closer to what I think the left's real values are.
He's the only one to confront Marine. So everyone attacks him. The left, the right, they all attack him because they're scared. They don't want to share the republic.
Now, his popularity is down to things like his oratory skills as well as his unashamedly left-wing stance and his calls for things like a citizens' revolution. That's crediting Jean-Luc Mélenchon with winning round voters that are fed up with the status quo. He does say that his sole objective is beating Nicolas Sarkozy, but his poll success perhaps reflects badly on the socialist candidate, François Hollande. That means as we enter the final stages of this election, the rivalry is fierce and getting fiercer on both sides of the political divide.
All right, Luke Brown braving the rain there in Toulouse. Now, Nicolas, you want to end with a quick word on the centrist candidate, François Bayrou?
Well, François Bayrou comes across as this very steady, easygoing guy. He has gravitas because he's been in elections, perhaps of all the candidates he's been in most. So he found himself in deep water today with, he was in a conference with Elle magazine, so not a feminist forum, but a women's forum.
They don't ask the toughest questions, to be fair, do they?
No, well, you know, it's serious stuff. It's It's on Elle magazine.
Right.
And he found himself out of his depth, because he was asked about what women should wear in pools. And there's been a whole debate in France.
Pools?
Yeah, swimming pools. And there's been a whole debate in France about Muslim women wanting to have lanes for themselves, or not to have men, not to be exposed to in their bathing suits. So this issue has also spread out to different religious groups, and he's found himself defending himself, and he got not booze, but sort of shouted out of court, really, with his comments that basically, well, fat women have this same problem too. Heavier women, they should wear clothes as well. So that has been a lot of buzz on the thing. So he sort of got off script and got into trouble there.
Oh dear, you don't want to find yourself talking about bikinis on the campaign trail, do you?
Always follow the talking points.
Absolutely. Yeah, good stuff. All right, Mark Perelman and Nicholas Rushworth, thanks very much to you both. Thanks for watching. This has been Campaign Chronicles. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow. Up next, all the latest headlines, including the United Nations Security Council warning to Syria it must end the violence within 7 days. That's next.